Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Dakbo Adigboye. The top stories at this hour. Nigeria's organized labor issues 14-day notice of nationwide strike. Civil society in Senegal calls for mass protest against poll delay. President Ramaphosa says end to power cut in sight in last State of the Nation address today. Details in a moment. For all of our views across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Our coverage tonight begins in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has performed the groundbreaking ceremony of about 3,112 housing units for the Renewed Hope Housing City in Karsana, Abuja. Now, President Tinubu during the ceremony says that the project, which will comprise several cities located in all the states of the Federation, will contain over 100,000 housing units for all levels of income earners in the country. He assured that the project will provide jobs for thousands of citizens and income for their sustenance. Now, News Central's Amadine Uyi tells us more.
With an annual growth rate of about 2.5%, housing has become a critical need for the social stability and growth of Nigeria. As the federal government sets to commence the construction of over 100,000 housing units for citizens, many believe this will solve a fundamental problem facing Nigerians.
As our population continues to grow, the demand for housing and urban infrastructure is rapidly growing. Our existing cities are grappling with issues of congestion, inadequate housing, and strained infrastructure. Establishing new cities and estates, therefore, also provides an opportunity for us to deliberately plan and design urban spaces that are not only beautiful additions to our landscape, but also efficient and sustainable.
President Bola Tinubu, while performing the groundbreaking ceremony of the Renewed Hope Housing City in Karsana, Abuja, expected to contain about 3,112 housing units, assured that the city, the first among several, highlights the importance the current administration is placing on providing affordable housing for citizens.
We know the value of housing. We appreciate the fact that it is an elixir for economic prosperity, job creation, hopefulness of our vision is not the right thing. The best thing we are doing now is putting housing on the front burner of our needs.
He says that the project will provide jobs to thousands of Nigerians, improving their livelihoods.
From this site, granite seller we eat. From this site, water seller we make a living. From this site, nail sellers, carpenters, all those roof makers, we make a living.
The Minister of Housing took time to give details of the project.
Under Phase 1, Your Excellency, we plan to deliver a total of 50,000 housing units across Nigeria. The cities will have 1,000 housing units per site in one location in each of the cities of local zones of the country and FCT, while the estate will have 500 housing units per site in the remaining 30 states. The funding for this project will come from a mix of sponsors, comprising the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development budgetary allocations, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, the estate development loan they are having, and the public-private partnership with retail developers.
The project considers Nigerians from all income brackets, including high, medium, and low-income earners, and will make provisions for those willing to pay yearly through mortgage to acquire the houses. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Let's now tell you that the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have issued a 14-day nationwide strike notice to the federal government. The union said that the 16-point agreement that was reached on October 2, 2023 between them and the federal government has not been implemented. The national leadership of the TUC and NLC expressed sadness that the government appears indifferent to the widespread suffering and adversity in the nation, despite their attempts to maintain industrial peace. Both agencies, in a statement, lamented that it is regrettable that they are compelled to resort to such measures, but they persist neglect of the welfare of citizens and Nigerian workers, and the massive hardship leave them no choice. Now to political matters now, but still in Nigeria, 12 new members representing various federal constituencies on Thursday took their oath of office and allegiance following their victories in last Saturday's parliamentary rerun elections in the country. Although a total of 15 candidates were victorious at the polls, 12 winners were on the floor of the House for their swearing-in at a session presided over by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin. Of the 15, 7 are of the All Progressives Congress, 5 from the People's Democratic Party, 3 from the Young Progressives Party, and 1 from the Labour Party. The new lawmakers were accompanied to the National Assembly complex by family members, friends, and political associates. We stay with the House of Representatives, where lawmakers commenced the process of immortalizing former Speaker Gali Naba. Naba, a Kano-born politician, died on September 27, 2023, in Abuja at the age of 65. This was considered after a motion brought to the floor of the House by a member of the New Nigeria People's Party from Kano State, Aliyu Madaki, titled Need to Immortalize Former Speaker late Gali Naba by naming the National Assembly Service Commission building after him. Now, the lawmakers noted that the late Naba started his political career as a student of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, where he was elected as an executive committee member of the Abu chapter of the Revolutionary People's Redemption Party, established in the Second Republic by Malam Aminu Kano. Away from that, let's tell you that, sadly, the revered traditional ruler of Asaba, His Royal Majesty Obi Joseph Chike Edozian, is dead. The monarch was aged 99 years. Though the death has not been officially announced due to tradition, it was gathered that Edozian, who was the 13th Asagba of Asaba, joined his ancestors on Wednesday. As at the time of filing this report, efforts to get an official response from the Palace Secretary, that's Chief Patrick Ndali, were unsuccessful. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. bill to allow citizens in Nigeria to bear firearms as part of moves to encourage self-defense for citizens from bandits, terrorists, and criminal elements is generating reactions across the country. A group in Nigeria's capital territory, that's Abuja, has called on the Senate to reject the bill, which is currently awaiting first reading, saying the massive proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the country will compound current insecurity challenges.
With marching words, the bill, which was sponsored by Senator Ned Nwoko, representing Delta North Senatorial District, which have passed the first reading, is an invitation to anarchy. The non-state actors and some civilians have used illegal arms to wage war against the state of legalizing the use of weapons and captured in the general principles of the bill, as it would not be in the interest of the nation. Therefore, the civil society coalition for credible election is calling on the Senate President, Senator Gosul Ogbot Akpabio, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, and lawmakers of the upper and lower legislative chambers to reject the bill as soon as it is due for the debate.
Troops of the Nigerian army has said they rescued 18 female kidnapped victims from their captors and handed them over to the Katsina state government. This is coming days after 55 wedding guests who were said to be escorting a bride home along the Damari town in Sabua local government area of the state were kidnapped by suspected bandits. The brigade commander, 17th Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Katsina, Brigadier General Oluremi Fadairo, said that the soldiers took a rescue operation to the bandits' enclave in Yantumaki and Dan Ali forests. They explained that the troops successfully engaged the terrorists in a gun battle, after which they successfully rescued the victims. Staying with security matters, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Anti-Drug Agency, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Mawa, has tasked zonal commanders, state commanders, and area commanders of the agency to go all out and smoke out drug barons still hiding and dismantle their cartels. He said it was part of the ongoing efforts to totally cut off drug supply to elements involved in criminalities across the country. The NDLEA boss gave the charge in his meeting with directors and all commanding officers of the agency at its national headquarters in Abuja. He said no effort must be spared to remove illicit drugs equation from the security challenges facing the country.
We are ourselves part and parcel of the solution to the insecurity, because if you cut the access and availability of drugs to the criminals, you will effectively tamper with their nefarious activities. And so we are going to plead for increased funding to do more things in support of the fight against insecurity, and I trust that the President will give us a listening ear, because he's very interested in the progress of the NDLEA. This year we want to raise the bar of our performance, and that calls for having commanders who are up to the task, who are up and doing. Our jobs are clearly defined. We must clean our streets and communities of illicit substances. We all are witnesses of the upsurge in kidnapping and such vices in society. This means also that NDLEA must remain upstanding. For those who have been watching and listening, recently the upsurge of kidnapping, in their demands, apart from money, what else do they ask for? They ask for drugs. So in one sense, it means NDLEA is working, because before they don't ask for it, because it's available. But now they can't access it like before, or it is very expensive, more than before.
We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. You're watching NC Continental Prime. Let's take you back to a story we mentioned earlier concerning the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress having issued a 14-day nationwide strike notice to the federal government. Now, the unions said that the 16-point agreement that was reached on October 2nd, 2023 between them and the federal government has not been implemented. To discuss this further, I am joined by Peter Esele, former TUC President. Thank you for your time, Peter.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now let's start off with this. What would you say concerning the proposed strike notice by the unions? Would you say it's very much in order? And if at all, what aspects of this agreement will you say has not been, honored by the government?
Yes, I think it's in order. Just that most times when Nigerians hear of ultimatum or a planned strike, our first take is that, oh, there's going to be a strike. When you issue an ultimatum, it's an invitation. Let's have a discussion. Let's do a review of our last meeting, and let's see what has been done, what hasn't been done, and if nothing is being done, then in 14 days we can go on strike. So issuing 14 days ultimatum starting from tomorrow is also a way of the organized labor reaching out to the federal government and say, let's come back to the table and do a review. And now none of those agreements that were reached have been implemented. The 35,000 naira wage increase by the federal government has not been implemented. So that's also part of what organized labor is all about. And then we also don't have a new national minimum wage, and negotiation to that has also not kicked off. So there's a lot of things that labor is worried about. And then standard of living continues to go down.
All right. This is not the first time we've seen both unions, announce a strike, sometimes even, go into that strike process. But at the end of the day, it appears as if nothing actually comes out of it, right? Particularly when strike actions are announced, we just hear maybe 24 hours, it's called off. If at all it happens, maybe just one day, and then everything just fizzles in the air. Nigerians don't really see an outcome of that particular action. So does this in any way water down the credibility or influence of both unions?
Yes, I think it does. But I also think both unions also need to how do I put it now? I'm looking for the right word to use. And they also need to reinvent themselves, and then not just wait till when things have gone bad. What they need to do is also to inform Nigeria and act as a pressure group. What I think they can do in all of this is, first, since this administration came to power, they've been more money accruing to the federation account. State government, local government, and the federal government have been getting more money running into trillions of naira. Let me just give you the last allocation was about 1.7 trillion. So if you're having about 1.7 trillion going to the three arms, that's the state, local, and the federal government. So the next thing I expect organized labor to be asking, they monitor this revenue coming out of the federation account and also ask what this money is being used for. It's not only the federal government, because it's not the responsibility of the federal government to provide public transport. It's not. Federal government can augment, but the primary responsibility is the state government. It's the state and local government that are responsible for provision of public buses. They are responsible for transportation. So what I expect organized labor to do is not to wait when federal or state government is not doing what they're supposed to do, is to reach out to the 36 state chairmen. I was a former president, so I know that all states have chapters. And those state chapters will also crank up pressure from their state to draw their attention to the citizenry that this is what is coming in, and they have a right to know what this money is being used for. So that is where I expected to start from, because organized labor is not just about strike, it's also a pressure group.
All right, now talking about pressure group, now let's go back to the 16-point agreement. Do you think that the content of that agreement still holds water in today's reality? And do you also think that some of the items in that agreement are also attainable by the government?
Yes. You see, it's called negotiation. It's a tripartite. By tripartite, I mean you have employers and then...
Let me be specific. For instance, the minimum wage being requested for, right, in that agreement. Looking at today's, economy, does it still stand?
Yes. What are they asking for?
Is it realistic?
Looking at what are they asking for minimum wage? You're looking at about 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking at about 200,000, that's why it's a negotiation. Now, if you go ahead and go head on for 200,000, you may have a spike in inflation. And what you have is that you may want 100 naira. At the end of the day, the purchasing power of your 200,000 naira may actually be less than 20,000 naira or 30,000 naira. So if you ask me, what are the areas I would concentrate on? Is that I'm concerned on the issue of public transportation. Because if you look at most workers right now are spending about 70% or more of their earnings on transportation. So you subsidize that aspect of transportation. You look at healthcare, you look at education. Those are the heavy loads you can take off the worker. It's not just putting money in their pocket. If you take away transportation, for example, if a worker is spending 100,000 or 50,000 transport every month, and you're able to reduce that to about 20,000 naira every month, that's heavy lifting that you've taken off the worker. And then you look at the healthcare, and then you look at the education. So if you're able to do all of these without going to pay 200,000, and then you negotiate, this requires thinking out of the box. I think both federal, state, and local government with organized labor have to think out of the box. I'll tell you certain things I found out that the organized private sector are doing. They'll be very fantastic in some of those that I get a report of. Majority of organized private sectors have increased salaries for their workers from the day this increase in pump price was executed. Now, they are looking at it. I don't want to go into details of what certain companies have done for their workers in the oil and gas, for example. And then there are other aspects of, even without waiting for federal government to set up a minimum wage, that you have organized private sector have even gone ahead to increase. But our major challenge here now is that the federal government, the state government, and the local government are not prepared. This government came to power knowing that they were going to take away subsidy. So if you say you are taking away subsidy, how are you going to mitigate the challenges that will affect subsidy removal? So one thing is very clear. Subsidy or no subsidy, government from 1999 to date have always been our problem, because they have no clue on what to do.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Peter Esele, former TUC President. Once again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now let's move to business-related stories. Now, where Nigeria's Treasury bill yields across short, medium, and long-term tenors have risen significantly as the Central Bank of Nigeria offer higher interest rates in its latest auction. Analysts have attributed the spike to the CBN's bid to stem the decline of the naira, mop up liquidity, and attract foreign portfolio inflows. In this report, News Central's Perpetual Fasumi Peter spoke to some financial market analysts who shared some perspective on this development.
In a bid to boost dollar inflows into the economy, Nigeria's central bank on Wednesday this week sold a record 1 trillion naira in treasury bills to both local and foreign investors at rates that were nearly twice the level of previous offers. Yields on the offering rose to 19%, the highest in 12 years, from 11.5% at the previous auction. A total of 1 trillion naira was on offer, but was oversubscribed as investors staked a whopping 2.3 trillion naira. The one-year bill on offer for 600 billion naira recorded a massive 1.8 trillion naira subscription, out of which the central bank sold 908.7 billion naira.
There are information that foreign investors are currently already trooping into the market. So what it will mean is that it will attract more FX inflow into the country, and also it will actually stop people from actually speculating.
I think that's probably the biggest dilemma that the central bank faces. There's significant naira liquidity, and it has to find a very efficient way of mopping that up. In terms of direction, we can be clear that the central bank is looking at a tighter monetary policy environment. Whilst it's positive for FPIs, I do not expect that we're going to see a significant recovery in FPIs until the second half of the year.
While it is believed that this will lure foreign investors, some market players fear that this could also crowd out the private sector from raising funds in the same market.
At what rate do you think a corporate will come and issue commercial paper as we speak? And don't also forget that for commercial paper, there's also withholding tax. So it means that by the time you are grossing everything up, you mean the people will actually be looking for close to about 27 to 28% to actually invest in a corporate instrument. And this will not be too good for corporate organizations that are actually looking to come to the market.
The crowding out of the private sector is an inevitable direction that the country has to go towards. But it's the pain that we have to go through in the short term to be able to equalize the level of liquidity that we have.
But what implication does this have for Nigeria's debt stock and servicing?
There is no short-term fix to that. There has to be a long-term plan that sees the country go towards a sustainable debt level. Now, how do we get to a sustainable debt level? It's increased revenue collection, ensuring that the government actually can, service the current debt that it has.
The central bank's decision to hike interest rates raises some questions. While it aims to attract foreign investment and stabilize the naira, the potential impact on businesses and the national debt stock requires careful consideration. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasami Peter.
To discuss this, we are joined by Temitope Kolade, Senior Manager and Lead ESG and Climate Change Services at Anderson. Thank you so much for your time, Temitope.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now the Central Bank of Nigeria has increased interest rates on short-term debt obligations, particularly with a one-year bill reaching about 19%, the highest in 12 years. Now, what factors contributed to the decision to raise these rates, and how does the Central Bank anticipate this move will impact the naira liquidity and attract foreign investors?
Okay, I think you already made an allusion to what's led to that. Apparently, we're having a very huge gap between the naira and the USD and forex generally. And what has led to that is the liquidity of naira, the fact that so much naira is in circulation. And the only way to then deal with that is to mop up the naira and so attract people to come, put their monies into the treasury bills, and then expect higher returns for it, right? Such that there is not so much money going around within the system, so to speak, in terms of naira. So that's basically what is, I believe, moving the CBN to do that.
All right, now the interest rates on the one-year bill have surpassed the central bank's policy rate for the first time, and they are now closer to the inflation rate. Now, how does this departure from the traditional policy rate align with the central bank's broader objectives, and what implications might this have for monetary policy in the near future?
Like they would say, desperate times calls for desperate measures. And so we cannot expect that the CBN would continue to take the usual measures. The only thing I fear about what we currently are having with the CBN is that these may just be short-term moves, really, because the people that you expect to react to these are more foreign portfolio investors. How is this going to affect foreign direct investments, for instance? Some of the concerns that people are raising is also that if you're raising so much rates for government instruments, what then happens to private investors? What happens to private investment if you're not going to counterbalance it with some fiscal measures, maybe to give some support to people who are also operating within that sector? So for me, the real concern is that how do we manage this such that as much as we could achieve some gain in the immediate to medium term, how do we sustain it in the longer run to ensure that we have the right fiscal measures to counterbalance this?
All right, Timi Tokwe-Kolade, a senior manager and lead ESG and climate change services at Anderson. Thank you once again for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, let's, of course, tell you that in Senegal, a collective of Senegalese civil society groups on Thursday called for mass mobilization against the delay to this month's presidential poll, outlining a series of planned actions against, including a protest and strike. The normally stable West African nation has plunged into its worst political upheaval in decades after lawmakers backed President Macky Sall's decision to postpone the February 25th elections, now scheduled for mid-December. The collective includes some 40 citizens and religious and professional groups, including several education unions. The speakers at the event also mentioned a call for a general strike on an unspecified date and a walkout in the education sector from Friday.
Je voudrais juste rappeler que ce point de presse est le début et le prélude à une mobilisation citoyenne, une très large mobilisation citoyenne contre la forfaiture qui a été perpétrée par les autorités de ce pays. Nous allons donc, à partir d'aujourd'hui, dérouler tout un programme, plan d'action qui va constituer notre riposte contre l'agression qui a été perpétrée contre nous, contre la République et contre...
We'll go for a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Anti-continental crime continues in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa says an end to power cuts is within reach. Now, the South African president said on Thursday that the end to crippling power cuts is within reach, as the president stated this while delivering a State of the Nation address ahead of the elections this year. He also pledged to boost renewable energy production and create thousands of jobs in the green economy.
Crisis ever again. We are confident that the worst is behind us and the end of load shedding is finally within reach. But we are not stopping there. To ensure that we never face a similar crisis ever again, we are reforming our energy system to make it more competitive, more sustainable, and reliable into the future.
Up north, the European Union says it intends to support the development of Mauritania through an increase in investments in the country, but also through energy cooperation, without forgetting the management of migrants. This emerged Thursday from the visit of the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the President of the Spanish government, Pedro Sanchez. The two were received by the head of state of Mauritania, with whom they focused on various topics of shared interest. Von der Leyen explained that the EU wants to strengthen relations with the African country from a political and economic perspective.
est dûment établi que notre pays dispose d'abondantes ressources d'énergie renouvelable, éoliennes et solaires, presque uniques par leur qualité et leur complémentarité, ainsi que d'importantes réserves de fer et de magnétite, faciles à enrichir et particulièrement adaptées pour la production d'acier vert. Cet énorme potentiel doit servir de base à une coopération énergétique solide, dynamique et mutuellement bénéfique entre la Mauritanie et l'Union européenne.
Up next is Business News with Perpetua Fasumi Peter.
Business News in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way
to master your money.
In business, the Nigerian federal government is seeking a substantial revenue increase from the oil sector in 2024, eyeing a significant 214% increase in petroleum profit tax (PPT) collections, totaling 9.96 trillion naira, according to the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS). This ambitious goal reflects an 89% increase over the initial projection of 5.26 trillion naira for the same period. The Petroleum Industry Act (PIA) introduced significant fiscal reforms to address challenges posed by falling oil prices, transitioning from petroleum profit tax to hydrocarbon tax and companies' income tax. The PIA aims to enhance the adaptability and financial viability of Nigeria's oil and gas sector amidst global oil price fluctuations. And moving on, in Egypt now, traditional engagement gifts of gold jewelry known as chakba are being replaced by silver due to soaring gold prices and currency devaluation. Economic turmoil with inflation over 30% and a 50% devaluation against the dollar has led to a surge in silver demand. Gold prices have skyrocketed by over 120%, prompting a 58% rise in gold coins and bars demand from 2022 to 2023. With gold jewelry prices unaffordable, more Egyptians are turning to silver alternatives. Although economic uncertainty in Egypt had led many to seek refuge in foreign currency or property, high prices and market fluctuations continue to hinder widespread investment, and despite the price of silver doubling in a year, it remains significantly cheaper than gold. And in East Africa now, Kenya has signed several deals with Japanese companies, notably Toyota Tsusho Corporation, potentially attracting investments totaling nearly 99 billion Kenyan shillings, which is approximately $620.7 million in green energy and automobile assembly. President William Ruto announced the agreements on his official X account, highlighting the collaboration's significance. The agreements cover various projects, including the Meru Wind Farm Energy, Isiolo Solar Energy, and initial investment in Thika Kenya Vehicle Manufacturers, KVM. Ruto disclosed ongoing talks with Toyota regarding setting up a manufacturing plant in Kenya to meet rising demand and create job opportunities. The Meru Wind Farm aims for 400 megawatts capacity, while the Isiolo Solar Energy Project targets clean energy access for over 5,000 households. The revitalization of KVM, crucial for the automotive industry, was initiated during the G7 session of trade ministers. Toyota's involvement is seen as pivotal in rescuing KVM from financial challenges. Uganda results from Thursday's Treasury bond auction in Uganda revealed that the central bank secured 1.3 trillion shillings, which is approximately $339 million, slightly below the 1.5 trillion shilling target. This marks a rare occurrence of a private placement bond auction, the first since June 2022. Unlike traditional open auctions where government bonds are sold monthly, Uganda's central bank initiated private placements in 2020, limiting participation to specific banks. The auction featured treasury bonds with maturities ranging from 3 to 20 years, attracting bids totaling 2.3 trillion shillings. These bonds are set to mature between 2026 and 2043. 8 banks, including local branches of international institutions like Standard Bank and Citibank, were invited to participate in the auction. Finally, Zimbabwe's Central Bank and Finance Ministry are collaborating on strategies to stabilize the local currency, according to the central bank governor. However, no details were provided on the scope of the strategy. The Zimbabwean dollar has fallen by approximately 40% since the beginning of the year, due to heightened demand for foreign currency from civil servants receiving December bonuses and reduced commodity prices impacting inflows. This depreciation has also fueled inflation. President Emmerson Mnangagwa recently mentioned plans for a structured currency without elaborating on its mechanisms. Meanwhile, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe Governor John Mangudia clarified that this statement aimed to provide market guidance on forthcoming monetary policies. These are the business news we're tracking at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your Udoka Njoku is next with the day's sports news.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
And in sports, Egypt's legend Ahmed Hassan has revealed he turned down an opportunity to join Hossam Hassan's coaching staff at the national team. The Egyptian Football Association made a surprise decision to appoint Hossam Hassan as head coach on Tuesday, despite claiming they were looking for a foreign manager hours earlier. Hossam is now set to take charge of Egypt ahead of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, along with his brother Ibrahim, who was named technical director. Hours after the news, Mohamed Youssef turned down Egypt's national team administrative manager position, and Ahmed Hassan revealed he has followed suit. Saudi giants Etihad Jeddah have terminated the contract of star player Igor Coronado despite an impressive first half of the season. The Brazilian midfielder scored 5 goals and assisted 7 in 15 Saudi Pro League games this season. The Tigers had to register just 8 foreign players out of the existing 10 and needed to leave 2 players out of their squads. The players were revealed to be Brazilian duo Igor Coronado and Marcelo Grau, as they were replaced by Egypt's Ahmed Hegazi and Jota. The 31-year-old Coronado had joined Etihad Jeddah in the summer of 2021 from Emirati club Sharjah Football Club for a fee of €10 million. Overall, he made 71 appearances for Etihad Jeddah, scoring 16 and providing 32 assists, winning the domestic double with the club last season. Organizers of the Paris Olympics have revealed that medalists at the Paris Olympics will be rewarded with a piece of the Eiffel Tower, and this was reported by organizers on Thursday as they unveiled the hexagon-shaped medals forged out of scrap materials from the monument. The idea was to link the games with symbols of France. Designed by jeweler Chomet, the 18-gram hexagon tokens representing the shape of France are made of iron from past refurbishments of the tower, stored for years in a warehouse whose location is secret. Paralympics medals feature a view of the Eiffel Tower from underneath and are stamped with Paris 2024 in Braille, homage to the Frenchman who invented it. The 5,084 medals are produced by France's Mint de Monnaie de Paris. The games are scheduled for July 26 to the 11th of August.
Olympic medal. We are very proud to have this very strong message to offer to all the athletes, medalists in Paris, to get as back home an original piece of Eiffel Tower. So it's a fantastic combination to have an Olympic medal, but also the symbol of France, the Eiffel Tower, present in the middle.
Ramener un bout du patrimoine de la France à la maison, c'est une médaille qu'on trouve extrêmement belle, c'est une médaille qu'on trouve chargée de sens et de symboles aussi, et puis c'est une médaille qui, je pense, va faire date dans l'histoire des Jeux Olympiques et Paralympiques parce qu'elle apporte quelque chose de nouveau, quelque chose de différent, et qu'on est très fiers de ça, qu'on est très fiers de cette idée un petit peu magique de mettre un bout de la Tour Eiffel au milieu du plus beau des...
And that's a wrap on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoku.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
We'll go on a quick break. When we return, of course, it will be entertainment news.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Welcome to entertainment on NC Continental Prime. The Headies Awards, a renowned ceremony that celebrates exceptional talents in Nigeria's entertainment industry, is set to return to its roots after being held in United States for its 16th edition. The Headies is coming back home to Nigeria for its next edition. The decision to bring the award back home follows a period of hosting the event in the United States since 2022. The 16th Headies Awards, which took place in the Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center in Atlanta, USA, featured a lineup of top performers and notable personalities from the music and entertainment scene. However, the decision to host the event in the US drew stiff criticisms from fans and industry leaders, who voiced concerns about the show being held on foreign soils and the implication of this move. Multi-award-winning singer and performer Kiss Daniels promised to fulfill a fan's request to accompany him to his next show at the OVO Arena in London. The fan, identified as Chisaba NFT, took to social media yesterday, February 7, 2024, with a simple plea: Vado, if Super Eagle wins today, take me to your next show, OVO Arena. To the delight of many, Kiss Daniel swiftly responded to the request, affirming, "This I promise you. X is my witness," crossing his fingers. The interaction sparked excitement amongst fans, eager to witness the fulfillment of his unique promise. Following the victory of the Super Eagles yesterday, seems the fan is in luck, as Kiss Daniel took to X yesterday and said, "Oga, where you do? Come go do your visa. UK, ya." Lupita Nyong'o goes silent to stay alive amid an alien invasion of New York City in the trailer for John Krasinski, A Quiet Place Day 1, which dropped on Wednesday. The prequel's teaser opens to Nyong'o walking peacefully with a cat in her arms when a nearby crash signals the first horrific moment of blind monster-like aliens crashing to Earth and hunting down anything that makes a sound. The Paramount film, set for a June 28, 2024 release, is based on an original idea from A Quiet Place filmmaker Krasinski and is directed by Pigs Michael Samosky, who also wrote the script. That's all on Entertainment Tonight. I am Adewa, back to the studio. Welcome to Entertainment on NC Continental Prime.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that's all on the news tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Dakbo Adigboye.